Welcome everybody. CHIMAOGE here once again. Thank you to my returning viewers and thank you to my new viewers. Welcome to the Hand of God. This segment is somewhat special and I'll explain. Kanam no Goha. Welcome to my entire lineage. May those of us who are alive be what we are meant to be in this world. And may those of us who are in spirit come and get rid of all the evil people. Let's live forever. Yes, I'm waiting until about the 1 minute mark and then I'll put up a short to verify that I'm broadcasting as I always do here on YouTube. Thank you to YouTube for providing this platform. But I'm just going to begin and introduce myself in more depth. My name is CHIMAOGE, that's my given name. My government name is CHIMAOGE Chijioke Ibe. Another word-structured name for me is CHIMAOGE Chijioke Ibienwuku. Ibe is a shortened form of Ibienwuku. Oops, wrong button, sorry. Yes, Ibe is a shortened form of Ibienwuku. Another name that I use and allow people to call me is Moge. That is my foremost nickname, M-A-O-G-E. What else? I was born in what most people now call Washington, D.C. I don't like referring to it as that because, well, those are artificial borders and they came about to us through oppression. I want to respect the place of my birth. I prefer to call that area and other areas as well ROM, the shining sector. The world is divided up into natural sectors. We're limited in our ability to understand them because the world is broken, but spirits who talk to me have told me that that is the name of that sector and we need to rediscover this knowledge. My metaphysically correct name that I discovered through prayer and also thought is CHIMAOGE Nke ROM, CHIMAOGE of the place of my birth, the sector of Oshu, the shining sector, yes. My matrilineage hails from the village of VENMO in West Africa, and my patrilineage wants you to all put your eyes towards the village of Urata to understand me. Also there in West Africa. That is my patrilineal connect. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, which is part of the Oshun of this world. And one other relevant fact about me, and I want to use this as a disclaimer, I'm not a proponent of the modern education system. I think it needs to be completely changed. I'm not also a proponent of judging people based off of, in terms of their worth as a person, based off of what they did or did not do in school. There's so many variables at play there. It does not tell you necessarily whether or not someone is intelligent, and definitely does not tell you whether or not they're a good person. But I'm just saying this because of current practice and also because it's something that occurred that people will be interested in and will help them get to know some of my context. I attended Harvard College from 2016 to 2020. I graduated in 2020. And while I was there, I did work at the Harvard Political Review. Yes, both writing and editing. Anyway, thank you for joining me here on CHIMAOGE's Comments. This is one of my 6 networks of my media company. I come here to debut my new ideas. A subset of this is my personal network, Moge. That's where I come to basically state my intention to do something or state, like my first clear articulation of an idea, but that's not the full display of the idea, in my opinion, you see. So that's just kind of like I wake up, I get myself together and go, I think this, I think this. CHIMAOGE's Comments is where I come and say, look at the truth, yes. And then we expand upon the truth. Another thing that I do here, which is related to that, and this is what I'm doing today, is I explain things that I've said before. That's part of the Hand of God. So today I want to just kind of do something a little different than I've usually done. I'm not saying I won't do this again, but it's different than I've usually done, and I'm doing it differently because this is a delicate subject. I just want to give what I'll, for now, somewhat lie and call are my opinions on relationships. And I'll explain why I'm calling it a lie. But before that, I want to thank all my viewers. Every view is a blessing. And I want to thank everyone who's commented. Every comment is a blessing. So why am I calling this a lie? I'm kind of being facetious here, but it's for a serious reason. You see, relationships are such a vast topic that coming out and saying, these are my opinions on relationships is kind of crazy. That's like saying, these are my opinions on swallowing food. But the world has devolved to such a point, and again, when I'm saying that, I'm being condescending, but I'm not signifying upon my audience. I'm signifying upon the evil people who brought us here. The world has devolved to such a point that we do not understand basic things. People do not understand how to have romantic relationships, and quite frankly, those are the easiest relationships to have because you can be more open in those relationships than any other relationship. The more you have to hold back in a relationship, the harder it is. But people today seek out the most difficult relationships and also mislabel relationships that should be romantic. I'm going to say this. Many, if not most, of the types of relationships that people call friendships are actually romantic. And I'll just say two things. One, if you're near someone just because it feels nice, that inatu matu in idea is a romantic relationship. And two, if you are spending time with someone one-on-one other than because there's nothing else, like, say there was an emergency and you have to walk with someone to get something, that is a romantic type of behavior. And I'm just saying that to begin the conversation, but I also want to say this. I'm not telling you to stop interacting with someone you call your friend. I'm just telling you to really think about that relationship, maybe be a bit more honest, and then just think how you want to proceed. But then, of course, some relationships might need to be adjusted. But more than that, we need to think more about our obsession with, one, not doing anything, and two, interacting with people one-on-one. Again, there's a place for just nzuzu, slowness. Again, nzuzu is one of the things. There's a place for just sometimes lounging around, and there's definitely a place for one-on-one interaction, but those are not default things. As a person in this world, your default should be to do something, and your default should be to interact in groups. It's inefficient to interact with people one-on-one, and I'll leave it at that. But anyway, because romantic relationships are such a vast topic, I do not want to just come out and say, these are my 5 romantic relationship opinions, or these are the 5 things I believe are crucial for romantic relationships. It's just too complicated. And I also want to say this, I'm not a detailed person. I'm calling in my ancestors more straight. I call on all the other heads of the God of Thunder in this universe. I call on all the other heads of the God of Thunder in existence. Help me. All the other Onyushi, help me here. Yes. I call upon all my righteous elders. Yes. You see, I'm still at the beginning of my journey. I don't pretend I can stand on my own. No man stands by themselves. A young man definitely does not. But a young man is not inferior. Yes, when necessary, we can raise our heads and speak. Anyway, you see, the issue here is that we have a culture of people who just open up their mouths and begin speaking about what is sacred, and that is our romantic relationships. The deepest romantic relationships, of course, could be classified as marriage, but I want to emphasize that is not the only healthy and or necessary relationship. Okay. So we live in a time when we don't even understand the deepest relationship. Quite frankly, we're mislabeling a lot of romantic relationships, and we're saying nonsense about the nature of romantic relationships. And I don't want to say too much more there because it's complicated, but we're not doing well. But because there is so much evil in the world today, it has infected the romantic relationship space. Good people are trying to talk about it, but I'll say this with respect to everyone else. Most people are failing. And then more than that, these are the people I'm targeting the most. There are many bad actors. As someone whose business is adding to the marketplace of ideas and speaking on metaphysics, and also, yes, getting rid of crime in this world, I feel compelled to say some things. But I just want to make this clear. I'm going to give 4 points here. These are really 4 a bear. These are 4 bonus pieces of information. More than that, these are 4 pieces of information for higher development. But I want to emphasize, I've said them like this to minimize the damage I might do. Because as I was saying earlier, I'm not a detailed person. What does that mean? I look at issues overall. When I speak about details, it's because they become relevant in the moment, but I do not wake up and think about a fine detail. I wake up and I think of the whole picture. What does that mean? Even though I believe what I say, obviously, like a proper person, I'm not lying, and I have the ability to speak on some details when I'm looking at things, I will not pretend that if I go into a complicated situation, everything I say will have the proper effect, and that's how I'm saying it. For example, if you drop me into a messy argument between a couple and ask me to adjudicate it perfectly on the fly, that will not happen. I will probably just tell them both to mechano, because I just don't deal with things at that level. So the implications of that is for me to deal with the kind of romantic relationship discourse we have in the world today perfectly, and I don't really want to repeat a lot of the stuff people say. I don't want to repeat a lot of the stuff people say. In fact, I'm not even going to give an example. You see, sometimes I go up to it, I think, can I give this example? And then no. I can go rah-rah. You see, I have my limitations. But I can't repeat what people say. But a lot of the stuff people say, a lot of the levels people are operating at, I can't deal with. That's for someone else to deal with. Because at some point, what analogy can I even use? I'll just be very, very plain. At some point, when someone comes out and is saying 10 crazy things, a lot has gone into that. So all I'll do is tell them, you're not doing well and these things you said are crazy. What I said is true, but that does not necessarily fix the problem. I hope you understand what I'm saying, and I'll leave it at that. But anyway, I just want to give these things out so that people know my opinion and so that I can begin to address these issues. I definitely want to address these problems all the way. As I've said many times, one of my goals in speaking is to fix the romantic relationship crisis. But again, I operate at the highest level. And that's not, again, and I'll just say it like this, because the lowest level exists, we need people to operate at the lowest level, but they have to operate well, okay? So I'm not I'm not insulting people who operate at a lower level than me naturally. I'm just saying that's not my zone, that's it. So when I'm saying I'm operating at the highest level, I'm just looking at the biggest things that are causing these romantic relationship problems. So that's why I always talk about crime and then also bad relationship ideas. So I will just say, generally speaking, we have crime. That messes up how people think, that messes up our ability to act. And then on top of that, people have bad ideas about romantic relationships. So I'll comment on that generally, and then I'll target the few worst ideas, and then I'll target the worst crimes. But there's so many other things. I'm not gonna go in and talk about the 100th worst idea people have about relationships in details, but there are many people who that is their calling and they're needed. So I'm just saying all this to say, I'm trying to limit what I'm saying here to minimize any damage right now, but I've just seen so much, both throughout my life and of late, that I think I need to comment a little bit. In the future, I want to be able to go and reach my goal in talking about these romantic relationship problems, and then also just advance action on this. But I can't do that all right now. That's a long-term process, and just more needs to happen, and I'll leave it at that. But anyway, here are just 4 points. And again, you can kind of take this as my lie, and I don't know what else to call it, my lie about what are my basic romantic relationship opinions. But I want to make clear, I'm just saying lie because I don't know how else to say it in English. I genuinely believe all these things. I just also believe we can go deeper than what I'm about to say, and I'll leave it like that. I can expand endlessly upon any of these points. I'm just not going to do it right now. I hope you understand me. And this is the first time I'm articulating these ideas like this, so please forgive me. Here's the first point I'll give. I've said this before, but I'm going a bit deeper, and I'm just leaning in and establishing this as a principle. First, monogamy is evil. Another way of saying this is every single person needs multiple romantic partners. You can also say every single person needs multiple romantic relationships. And again, I'm limiting myself to what I'm saying here. I'm not adding on. Let me say it again. Monogamy is evil. Every single person needs multiple romantic partners. Every single person needs multiple romantic relationships. And I'll leave it at that. I know I've said that in the first way before. I'm just adding those other things here and just want to establish more that as one principle. Okay. Let me go with the second point. And this is a command to the public. Do not have romantic relationships with people who commit acts of evil against you. Once again, do not have romantic relationships with people who commit acts of evil against you. And I'll leave it at that. Now here's point 3. Every person needs deep relationships. I'll say it some other ways. Everyone needs deep relationships. Every person needs deep romantic relationships. Everyone needs deep romantic relationships. And I will add something here. There's a trend in society of wanting shallow romantic relationships. We can argue how deep every type of relationship should be, but there should not be any sort of relationship that is objectively shallow. In order to interact with any person, there should be some depth there. If the relationship is romantic, as in if it's in the deepest category, you should say objectively this relationship is deep. That doesn't mean there won't be some other romantic relationships that are deeper than that one, but that relationship should have some depth to it. The relationship should not be shallow, and I'll leave it at that. Let me say it one more time. And again, this is just one way of articulating it. Every person needs deep romantic relationships. And I'll leave it at that. Let me put up another short. All right. Let me just go and get this fourth one. I'll just read it. Do not have romantic relationships with people that are not attractive to you. And I'll say it one more time. Do not have romantic relationships with people that are not attractive to you. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Let me take a break. I'll just say these again, and then I'll be out. Thank you very much. Let me just. Ooh. And again, I want to emphasize, these are principles and commands to every single person, regardless of any identity marker, no matter who you are, any person needs these things and or should follow these commands. Yes. Okay, Captain Namnogoha. Calling in all of my lineage. Yes. Okay, let me go again. I'm just going to say them and then I'll be out. Thank you very much. Point 1, and again, these are my relationship principles that I'm giving out just for now to begin. I just want to get a foothold in the conversation, also to let my audience know where I'm coming from, what I think. But again, there is a lot beneath the surface to this, but what's beneath the surface does not contradict this. I also want to say this. I've seen people just outright lie about their romantic relationship opinions before. People come out and say, this is my opinion, and later, either through action or, I'll just say it like this, either through action, through comments, or both, go against it and just unpleasantly surprise the public. That's not what I'm doing here. I used the word lie before. I'm going to articulate it a different way. This is just my beginning foothold. I'm just trying to get a message across here. I'm not I'm not saying something I don't believe. I'm not saying something I go against. I'm not saying something I'm gonna go against, okay? I'm just putting out these points. So, point one, again, these are my, what I'll call now, beginning romantic relationship opinions. Again, please just look at everything I've said in totality to understand me. Thank you very much. Point one, monogamy is evil. Every single person needs multiple romantic partners. Every single person needs multiple romantic relationships. Once again, monogamy is evil. Every single person needs multiple romantic partners. Every single person needs multiple romantic relationships. Point two, and again, this is a command to the public. Do not have romantic relationships with people who commit acts of evil against you. Once again, do not have romantic relationships with people who commit acts of evil against you. Point three, every person needs deep relationships. Every person needs deep romantic relationships. Everyone needs deep relationships. Everyone needs deep romantic relationships. That's point three. And then point four, do not have romantic relationships with people that are not attractive to you. Once again, do not have romantic relationships with people that are not attractive to you. Thank you very much. I pray you all are well. See you next time.